Hello, it's Theo from Theo's Tech Tips, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a Google OAuth app with Spring Security. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is to open up your IDE, and the first thing we're going to do is to open up our pom.xml, and we need to add the Spring Boot parent pom like this. Now we need to go to the bottom and add a dependencies tag, and we're going to need the Spring Boot starter dependency, as well as the Spring Boot starter security dependency, and the Spring Boot starter OAuth2 client. So now we're going to refresh our POM. So now we're going to go into our main file, and in our main method here, we need to call spring application.run main.class and args. And we need to specify the Spring Boot application annotation. So now we're going to make a new class called Spring Security Config. And we're going to put two annotations on this class. One is configuration, and the other is enable method security and secured enabled to true. And we're going to put a new bean inside of this class, and it's going to be public security filter chain configure, and we're going to pass in the HTTP security. Inside of this method, we are going to call http.authorize HTTP requests, and we're going to go requests, and we need to specify our request matchers. And these are all the endpoints that we're going to let the user access without needing to log in. So we're going to pass in //css star /js /star /images /double star /OAuth /double star, and we're going to say permit all. And then we're going to tell the request matchers to require every other request to be authenticated. Any request authenticated. And now we're going to configure the options for the OAuth login. So we're going to go http.OAuth2 login form.permit all. And we're going to return http.build. So now we're going to make a new class called custom OAuth2 user service. It's going to have the service annotation, and we need to auto wire OAuth2 authorized client service. And this class needs to extend from default OAuth2 user service. So now we can override the load user method, and we need to pass in our OAuth2 user request. And we need to make a new method to process the OAuth user. So it's going to return OAuth2 user, process OAuth2 user. And in this method, we need to get the username attribute name. And to do that, we're going to go to user request.getClientRegistration.getProviderDetails, .getUserInfo endpoint, .get username attribute name. We also need to get a map of string object of our user attributes. And we're going to go OAuth2 user.get attributes. So now what we want to do is to check if the user is a valid user. So in a professional application, this would usually be done by checking the database or checking some sort of storage system. But for this simple example, I'm just going to do a simple if statement. And we're going to go if user attributes.get email equals, and I'm just going to pass in test email. Then we're going to return a new default OAuth2 user. And we're going to pass in null for roles because we don't have any. And we're going to pass in user attributes and our username attribute name. And if it's not a valid user, we're going to throw a new username not found exception. And we're going to say error invalid account. So now in our load user method, we're going to get our OAuth2 user from our load user method that we're going to pass in user request to. And we're going to try to return process OAuth2 user request, and OAuth2 user, and user. And we're going to catch exception, and we're going to throw a new internal authentication service exception with e.getMessage and e.getCause. So now we're going to make a login success handler for when we get successfully authenticated. And this is going to extend from the simple URL authentication success handler. We're going to make a new constructor, and we're going to go super.setDefaultTargetURL to /welcome, or wherever your endpoint is going to be. And we're going to override the onAuthenticationSuccess method, and we need to auto-wire to authorize client service, and we're going to get our OAuth2 user authentication.getPrincipal. And what we're going to do here is we're basically just going to set the session variables to the details that Google gave us. So to do that, we're just going to go request.getSession.set attribute logged in to true. And we're also going to set name to user profile dot get attributes dot get name, and we are also going to set the email to user profile dot get attributes dot get email, and finally we're going to set the profile user profile dot get attributes dot get picture, and then we're going to call super.onAuthenticationSuccess request, response, and authentication. And we're going to add the component annotation. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our config, and we're going to auto-wire login success handler class. And we're going to go down to OAuth2 login, and we're going to go .success handler to login success handler. So now what we need to do is to make a new controller that's going to handle all of our pages, and we're going to annotate this with REST controller. And the first thing I want to do is to get mapping / login page, and we're going to set it to request, and we need to get HTTP servlet response, and we're going to tell the response to send a redirect to /login, which is the default login page for Spring Security. And now we're going to get mapping our welcome page. I'm going to go public string get welcome page HTTP servlet request, and we're just going to return a string that says welcome. So the last thing we need to do is to make a new file in resources called application.properties, and I'm going to set the port by going server.port equals 9000, and we are also going to set Spring Security OAuth2 client registration google.scope to userinfo.profile and userinfo.enable and userinfo.email. And we're also going to set spring.security.oauth2.client.provider.google.authorization URI to /OAuth2/v2.auth. We're going to set two more attributes, client ID and client secret. And these are for our credentials, and we need to go make those. So to make our credentials, we are going to go to the Google Cloud Console, and we are going to make a new project, and we're going to go to the navigation menu, APIs and services, and OAuth consent screen. And in here we're going to say external, and we're going to give our app a name, give our email, and give our developer contact email. We're going to click save and continue, and we're going to click save and continue, and back to dashboard. And then we're going to click on credentials, create credentials, OAuth client ID. We're going to set the type to web application, and we're going to add localhost and whatever port we have. So in this case, it's 9000, and /login /OAuth2 /code/Google. And we're going to click on create, and we're going to copy and paste our client ID and client secret and put them in the fields. Now we can run our app. So now we can click on Google, click on our account, and you should see welcome. And we can also log out, and we could choose one that's not valid. And you can see our error. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm Theo from Theo's Tech Tips, and I'll see you next time. Bye.